Upon further review, the ruling on the field stands. This is the greatest sports podcast, First and Goat. All right, what's good, everybody? Welcome back on this beautiful. Holy shit, the NBA finals are over, but at least we still got some baseball. Let's go White Sox Thursday. Today's June 15th, so let's get the show rolling. Adan, you got something to say? You want to take it away for us?
That's right. Let's go, everybody. We want to thank you for watching. We know you have a lot of options, and obviously we're the best choice. So thanks for tuning in. Although the NBA finals are done, that's our little bread and butter. So we're gonna talk about the NBA. There's a couple of topics I wanted to bring up. First of all, I'll start with you, Luis. So going into the season, I know we still got a few months, but what superstar do you think is under the most pressure to win a title next season?
Oh shit. Okay. So right off the back, that's an excellent question. So let me think. I think to win an NBA title this upcoming season, right?
First title.
First title, gotcha.
Yeah, not like
So probably maybe a little unfairly, so maybe it might not sound like the best answer, but off the top of my head, the name that pops up to me is Joel Embiid. And the only reason is because Joel Embiid, I think, depending on who you talk to, people will argue that Jokic or Giannis or Embiid are the best overall, the best players of the NBA right now in this season. Not their body of work, not just right now where they're at the level that they're currently playing. So Giannis obviously has won a title. Jokic, we just saw, won a title, so he's the odd man out. So maybe but he just won his first MVP. I think he's been to the playoffs maybe every year that he's played. Maybe minus one the first year. I don't know, but he's never even made it to the Eastern Finals, I don't think. So I think
he did.
He did make it to the Eastern Finals.
Toronto, remember that lucky shot by
the fucking Kawhi shot. You're right. Wait, you're right. So I take that back. So just never the finals then, right? That might have been his only Eastern Finals appearance. But still, so he's been there. I was wrong. You're right. How can I forget about the Kawhi one? So anyway, top of my head, I think I will go with Embiid just because he's been to the playoffs. He's in the argument as being one of the top players in the NBA right now. After Giannis and Jokic got his MVP award, I mean, the next step is really he would need to take his team and get a chip.
Sal, what do you have?
Cool. I mean, a few names came. I know actually a lot of names came to mind. First, I started off with like the lifelongers, the ones that've been in the league for a while, like Chris Paul. You got guys like what was maybe Westbrook, which I don't consider being a Hall of Famer. Maybe Harden, stuff like that. But like I said, at this point, they're past their prime. If they win a championship, it's not because of them. Maybe they contribute something. So like, I don't think it counts anymore. Who else? You got guys like John Morant, Booker, Lillard, who's been to like Western Conference Finals already, but it hasn't had a solid team around them. So like I can't. I don't think there's a ton of pressure yet. Like I mean, if there is pressure, you guys are superstars. The guys like Devin Booker or something. But I don't think like you can fault them for the position they're in. So like I had three names that came to mind. The one that the top three was first I thought about Embiid, especially after this heat, he got for like winning MVP. I guess now he has to justify that MVP. Why he beat Jokic, beat out his why he cockblocked Jokic from getting his third Finals MVP. So he has
their regular season MVP in a row.
Regular season. I'm sorry. So he took his third MVP. So I guess Embiid has to justify it. The other one is Luka, who's probably the best all around NBA player. and he took a hit. Like you got a guy that you added talent like Kyrie Irving, and the team did worse. They regressed some. So it's like, but again, it's like can't fault too much because the team wasn't that great. I think the number one guy right now that's under the most pressure to win the finals is Jason Tatum.
There you
He's
go.
young, but he's going into the finals. He went to the finals already once. He went to the Western Conference another time. Um, he's the one that has the championship team built right now. Those guys are eventually the contract. Like who knows what's gonna happen? Jaylen Brown, those are the rest of the team, and at one point they're gonna cash in and leave. He's only gonna have it good for a year or two after that, and I don't know what Boston plans on doing after that, or what he's gonna look like, but it's not gonna get that much easier. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy now, but it should get a little tougher. I said he's still young, but it's like a couple years before he gets into his prime. So I think Tatum is the one, the most pressure. And I hate to say he's still like, but he's a year or two from getting his prime. But like, I mean, that team that he has right now is stacked.
So you would rank on Tatum, Luka, Embiid, your top three in that order.
I think Tatum in that order, highest to lowest is Tatum, Embiid, and Luka. Probably.
Oh,
But I said Tatum the most pressured because of the team that he's surrounded around. I said it didn't help that he lost to Miami. Nothing, no knocking his Butler and them. And also no too Butler. Like he lost two finals already. He needs to know one, but at the same time, I don't consider him like a superstar or 1A. And like he's not a spring chicken either. I think he's in his early 30s now, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a while.
So it's like, yeah, I think Tatum's the most just because the team's on. Embiid has a pretty good team, but I said him because it's just to justify his MVP over Jokic and Luka, because from those three, I think he's the best all around player. But I mean, like, his team is nowhere near competing for the title, so it's can't fault him. But
I love Luka. I wouldn't call him the best all around player. I mean, I don't think he's better than Giannis or Jokic.
Well, I'm talking about the group. I'm talking about the group
that's the ones that haven't won. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I think thinking of the word superstar is complicated, right? Like, who do people consider superstar is subjective. It varies. So, my mind went to the guys that have been in the NBA longer. Like you were talking, Chala. So to me, it wasn't necessarily about them being superstars currently, but about players that have had superstar careers. And I think that they have the most pressure in my mind to win their first championship because they're on their way out. So guys like Tatum, Embiid, Luka, Ja, Booker, I think they have time. Like I know, it runs out and you don't always get the opportunities and you don't always have the team. But I feel that they're still young. They still have plenty of years in their prime to go. So I want, some of the guys that you mentioned, Sal, Chris Paul. I think, there's a lot of weight that gets put on a championship. And Chris Paul has been a really good point guard for a long time. So I put him as my number one. I think he's under the pressure to get that before he's done. James Harden, same thing. I think he's on his way out, and the fact that he struggles in the playoffs, I think he's under pressure to get one before he's out. Dame is not that young anymore, guys.
No,
he's still awesome, maybe? But yeah, I mean, it all depends, right? Like not everybody could be like LeBron James and Chris Paul. Chris Paul gets hurt all the time, but he's still, when he plays, he's efficient. So I see him as a guy that needs to get on a team, hope maybe this offseason to gel and have the time to win it in the next 2 or 3 years before he's done. Put Paul George at one time. Paul George was considered a lead dog. So those are my top four. But George, I don't know if he sticks around with the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard getting injured. What if they get Chris Paul? You can't really count on those guys. But I feel I don't think Paul George is seen in the eyes of like a James Harden or Chris Paul, but he was considered a superstar at some point. So those are mine. switching this thing around. So, we're talking about careers and superstars. And I mentioned this at the end of the last episode. I mentioned how when we talk about the GOAT, we talk about the greatest career of all time. And in my mind, the GOAT should be the greatest player of all time, which are two different things. So, James Harden has an MVP. Is his career better than Chris Paul, even though Chris Paul doesn't have an MVP? Or let me ask you this, Luis: is Chauncey Billups, is he better than Allen Iverson? Because Chauncey Billups was the lead dog on a championship team.
Yeah, it's a great question. Chauncey Billups, I see, was a contributor to a solid team. Allen Iverson was the guy you built around. You know what I mean? So I see what you're saying, because Chauncey, I don't think anybody would argue that he was a superstar, right? He was a solid player. There was a contributor that I don't know how many teams he played for, So I think that equates into his career too. But he did win a championship, right? With the Pistons. Allen Iverson did not, right? He made it to one finals or did he? Yeah, he made it to one finals and lost,
Yeah.
But just the eye test, just watching their careers, over getting to have watched both their careers, I always saw Chauncey Billups as a solid contributor. He was one of my favorite players, big shot, and when he played for the Pistons, that was what with Larry Brown, that was one of my favorite teams, But I think they're a great team that won that championship. It would have, if Allen Iverson would have been able to pull it and win that championship against,
against Shaq and
Kobe and Shaq and Phil, I think he would. I feel like he's already immortalized, in the NBA, even though he didn't win a championship. But I can't even imagine. So to answer your question, no, I don't think Chauncey, is the better player. But maybe because I'm just looking at it, I get their whole career, what kind of role they played in their respective teams,
So then we could agree that just because you have more championships or a championship doesn't make you a better player than somebody else.
Not in a snapshot. Not like when you're talking about contributors like Robert Horry. Now, if you're the guy, you're the main guy, and you're the main reason that you win multiple championships. I think the argument does change, But when you're a contributor like Robert Horry, I don't know how many championships he has. Steve Kerr, I don't know how many.
Robert Horry has 7. And
7,
none of his teams. Well, he wasn't the man, but none of his teams ever lost.
No.
So he's 7-0 in the finals.
Right, and then so he has 7 championships, undefeated, contributor. Right, he'll be the first one to tell you he was a contributor. Even when he was in his rookie season, it was a lot. It was Olajuwon, right, the main guy.
Yeah.
So even in I guess Robert Horry prime years, he was never the guy. So no, so yeah. To answer your question, I don't think Chauncey would have had a better. What was it was not a better career, but you said, is he a better considered more accomplished than Allen Iverson? Because Chauncey does have a ring.
Some people could say that Chauncey Billups. Some people could say that Chauncey Billups had a better career, but because he won a championship, and I think he won the Finals MVP. Some people could argue that he had a better career than Allen Iverson, and my argument is a better career doesn't mean you're a better player.
Right. No, I agree with that.
So I got a follow-up question for Luis, but Sal, what do you think about that? That I feel that a lot of times top 10 list of players, that people discuss, a lot of times people get added to that list because of their accomplishments, because of their career, like actual, rings and whatever, those kind of things, but not necessarily the kind of player that they were. Like Tracy McGrady never won an MVP, right? Never won a championship, but you could compare him to some of the, of the greats. Is he not better than Clyde Drexler? So I just wanted to, what do you think about my observation that people focus on the career instead of the talent of the player when they're discussing who's better than somebody else.
I think we touched on this before. Like I agree. I look at the talent. Say sometimes there's things that they're out of the player's control. It just depends. They have a different path. They have a different team, a different organization. Like sometimes that's the way it goes. Like I said, we were just talking about point guards. Some of my favorite point guards that never get discussed, and to me are like, if you go back and watch the highlight reel, Rod Strickland. I think he was a bad motherfucker, dude. I think he is. I know he had off collision. Maybe he was who knows what happened in the locker room. Maybe he was hard headed, stubborn, but there's no denying. Like and people, man, I used to see him when he's playing the Bulls. I don't care if he was with whatever team he was, he will cook Jordan. Like, man, there's highlights. If you see him, this guy, like, that's how good this guy was. Like, I think looking back, and it was funny because I was just watching this like not that long ago. Like Jordan struggled because that crossover, man, he would hit some the his cross, and Jordan would just like stay. So, anyways, that's
Hey Pippen, can you come help me?
I guess Pippen had, I forgot who it was that was in the team, but like, yeah, man, it just like guys like that. I'd be in awe like that. Like he didn't accomplish as much as like say obviously like Magic Johnson, but I think he deserves to be like to be recognized as one of the better point guards. Guys like Steve Francis. Everybody forgot about Steve Francis. That guy was a killer, man. That guy was a dog,
With Houston, yeah.
Everybody talks about point guard, and again, he didn't win nothing, like it's just like, but he was a bad motherfucker. Like, dude, the shit they like the way like when you see like the best player, I always see like the talent, the skills that I wish I had. There was shit that I could do. You know what I'm saying? Even to the point where like the body that I would wish I was, that's tall and whatever. So like yeah, like I said, yeah, the competition is cool, but at the same time, like people just get too hung up on that shit. Like it is like I said, it's a team sport. When you're talking about like 6-time champion, whatever, blah blah blah. Corey 7-time champion, like shut the fuck up. He hit some big shots, but there was like 48 minutes in that game, like everybody, like he just, dude, everybody scored, everybody, like everybody played a role. So like I hate all that stuff like that. And sometimes with MVPs, like let's just say MVP, like it comes with a better record, and sometimes the better record is the MVP, the guy that's in a better team. Same thing with head coach of the year. It's to the guy who has probably the most wins that year, and that fucking team happens to be the better team. So it's just like not that you were the better coach or you just have like I'm just knocking the guy. Like obviously that coach played a part in winning that coach of the year, but you're fucking that team that you're coaching, they had a big part in it. Like so like I said, accomplishments and all that stuff. They're nice. I'm not gonna say no. Like you want to win championships, you want to win them MVPs and all that jazz. But me, I like talent. There's like McGrady. There's probably another one like a baddest motherfucker, bro. A bad motherfucker, bro. And then and guys that like the rapist Kobe would say, he goes, he would say he would compare who's the toughest the matchup he ever had, and his guy was Tracy. He never said Jordan. His guy was like Tracy McGrady was the toughest guy. He said for his height, his skill set.
He said Tracy and Carmelo Anthony. That's what Kobe said.
He said a few. He said he didn't even list. I remember he started off with Allen Iverson. That was the first name that came to mind. Allen Iverson, like man, and he told me, man, this guy dropped X amount of points, blah blah blah. And you're talking about a guy that's 5'11", and this guy was cooking him, and he's like, man, he told me he had problems. And then I know you mentioned Carmelo. Who else did he bring up? But I said Jordan wasn't on the list.
Yeah, but he played Jordan at the tail end of his career. Like he played all the guys you're mentioning him. He throughout his career.
Like say, there's other guys out there. There's people like the default like Jordan. Oh, it must have been Jordan. Like no, it wasn't. He named a ton of other players. And this guy like Carmelo, like for his fucking strength down low. And I think he talked. I don't know if he's the one that talked about it, but other players how he was just like a fucking like strong like ball like in the post and just fucking bang down low and he'll wear people down. But I forgot who the other few players that he brought up were there. He couldn't. They were tough, but yeah, no. To answer your question, it's definitely the talent to me.
I feel like you're reading my notes, bro. Like, okay, so I have in here my follow-up question to Luis was, when you think about players, like, do you want to have their career, or do you wish that you had the talent that player had? Like that's the way I look at it. Do I want to? I separate.
Yeah, so
the two.
I think career, because one of my favorite players was Jason Kidd, right? Because I thought Jason Kidd he was one of I didn't get to see Magic Johnson play his whole career, right? But he was a triple double machine, right? And so I'm like, this guy could do everything, right? He could pass, he's an efficient passer, elite passer. He could get you at least 15 points, you know, and he could rebound as a point guard, you know. And so I think talented wise, he was much more talented than a lot of other point guards that were just really there more to distribute, you know. Um, but, I think that you can't ignore career because it's the NBA and there's a ton of talented players that never won a championship, an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. But that's the whole point. You're playing in a pool of the best. And the three of us could just name drop a bunch of players that that do not get recognition nowadays because they don't have the resume, career, and accolades. But you're in the NBA.
But wouldn't
Everybody has an amazing
wouldn't
skill
that
set. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't that matter more? Wouldn't that matter more if they were tennis players or golf players, where it was they're controlling everything? Wouldn't
I think
wouldn't
God, yeah.
no, yeah,
In the NFL, yeah, in the NFL, absolutely. But in the NBA, you cannot tell me when you got five guys and one ball, superstars make the difference. You know what I mean? I mean, that's in the NBA, it is, I know it, soccer and the NFL and the NBA and baseball, right? I'm just naming team sports, right? You cannot tell me that the NBA is the same as baseball, you know what I mean? Hockey and all the other ones where there's just, where it's a team element, super, they make
baseball. Not as
Yeah,
baseball.
but when they win, they don't always when they
control.
win. Yeah, but when they win, it's not always a superstar. They get the credit.
So we talk about the
I
NBA.
get it.
Is that the thing in the NBA? It's a team sport, but it's the one that weighs the heaviest with having a superstar on your team.
Why not
versus
hockey?
All these other ones?
Why isn't hockey the same?
I threw hockey in there. I don't watch a lot of fucking hockey, but I know in the NFL, and you can't tell me in soccer. You know what I mean? And then all these other team sports. And I'm not saying that basketball is not a team sport, but I do think that it does stand out as a sport that a single person could impact it a lot more than the other team sports that I mentioned. So that's all I'm saying. So it's I don't like blanketing it with all the other ones and saying like, oh, it's a team like that. It's one ball, 5 players on the court, 12 total. You know what I mean? And 2 of those guys don't even get rotated in. It's it gets impacted immensely more than the other ones.
I agree with that. I agree with that because they get to play both sides of the court, and you could they could get the ball 100% of the time, right? Like they could control
the majority of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like, LeBron could make the decision 100% of the time, Jordan, whoever, but it's still the other 4 people on your team still make a difference compared to the other 5. So when you're looking at players, you gotta also look at who's surrounding the opposition.
Yeah.
So that like we don't want to get into that yet. But so you would prefer a career over like, oh my God, I wish that I could play like this player. So
I mean, I love Skip to My Lou, you know what I mean? And he was awesome, and I love seeing the street, how do you call it, mixtapes, and amazing talent, and made it to the NBA. Rafer Alston, right?
Yeah,
older, but skill set's awesome, man. It's important. I like certain players. I like Lillard. I don't think he's won anything at all. Anything. You know what I mean? But I do appreciate, but I mean I'd be lying if I would.
So you would prefer to have Steve Nash's career because he won back-to-back MVPs over being a player like Dame or CP3? Like you personally, like you would rather be Steve Nash in the NBA than you were than be Dame Lillard?
I mean, man, it just kind of sucks. None of those guys have won a ring, but you're just talking about
I'm talking
accolades, right? Yeah,
career,
but I
like
mean,
accomplishments, MVPs.
you know,
Like
Still
Chavo
better
was saying,
player.
maybe
I
MVP.
I would,
They count. The team counts, right, to get an
yeah,
MVP.
I would tell you what I would want to be. You know what I mean? If I could just choose, right, and
Oh, let me
somehow I
guess.
was, no, hear me out. I would want to be the guy that they build around, right? And you're the guy, and you're putting pieces in place for me. You're bringing in, you know what I mean, a defender and a rebounder and a shooter. But I'm the guy, and I'm the guy carrying the team. Like, yeah, that's a good one on those guys you said, because I don't know if any of those guys. Oh, go
So,
ahead.
Oh, okay, so that's fine. You want to be the guy that and that's admirable. You want to be the guy, and they build around you, right?
Yeah,
You don't want to be the second or third that contributes. And okay, so what
right.
would you have? So let's just say you are that guy. You're one of
Yeah,
the best guys that the NBA has ever seen, but you're in a shitty organization and they can't build
yeah,
shit around you. Then
right.
what? You rather will you be happy with a career that with less accomplishments, or would you
Mhm.
rather be the number two, three, or two guy, three, or maybe three so much? The second guy, not as talented, but you were in a team with a guy that won champion.
Yeah.
It helped you win all-star, all-star, fucking defensive scoring titles, championships. You would have that, or let's say you're that guy,
you're
but
contradicting yourself there, Luis.
What do you mean?
Because first you said you would rather have a career where you win
Yeah,
rings and everything, and then the
yeah.
other one you said you want to be the guy that the franchise builds around. Those
Correct.
those are not the same thing.
But I'm assuming that we're gonna win rings. In my fantasy world, I'm the guy.
Oh, did they
I'm the
not build
guy.
around? Did they not build around Iverson? Did they not build
Yeah.
around Steve
But that's why
Francis for a
when you
while?
asked me about Iverson, and when you asked me about Iverson and Billups, I picked Iverson, even though you know what I mean. Billups has a championship, and with Steve Francis, they threw in the Yao Ming in there, and he was, very
They
expandable,
never built
unfortunately.
around Jason Kidd. You picked Jason Kidd like
And
idol. They never built. Dallas traded him.
Dallas, they traded him, but in Phoenix, they built around him. He was, you know what I mean? He had like pieces. He had Sean Marion and Amari. They were like a fun team, but they didn't have any other buddy that was. Jason Kidd was the guy.
So
You know what I mean?
did he go to the Nets on his own, or didn't they trade him to the Nets?
After they couldn't win a championship, yeah. But they were building around him. It doesn't mean just because they build around you doesn't mean you win a championship, And then when they went to the Nets, he was the guy there. They went to the finals too. You know what I mean?
So
But they build around them.
yeah,
I think when you said about being the guy, you want to be the guy, and who doesn't want to be the guy, right? You be the alpha male,
Paul
be
George,
the dog.
LeBron
Let's say
James.
ideally, everybody
LeBron
wants to be,
James
right?
doesn't want to be.
No, he doesn't want to be. He wanted to go buddy it up, man. He wanted to get his buddies together.
You're telling me that
Yeah. Yeah, man.
franchises don't build around LeBron James?
So I'm just saying LeBron James doesn't want to be the guy. He wants to be in a group of guys. That's what he wants to do.
Oh my! This is
God.
like the craziest thing anybody.
What are you talking about? What do you
Skip
mean?
Bayless. Oh my God!
Are you kidding me? He's never wanted.
He wants 2 MVPs with the Heat. He doesn't want to be.
When Damian Lillard, and the funny thing is that now he's gonna probably get traded. But when he says that he's not gonna get traded, and who do you think those comments are made towards? That he's not gonna go build a super team. Who do you think he's talking about?
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant did that. Where do you think that came from? Do you think that was that ever done before Kevin
Super
Durant?
teams been happening way before LeBron.
In their prime.
Okay, Jordan was blessed to have Chicago. They drafted well, Krause. They had a great coach, arguably the best head coach. Why would you leave? If Cleveland had that, and then LeBron still left for even a better team, I think, okay, fine, criticism. But that guy left dog shit. Who wants to go to Cleveland? Even Noah left at it. You know what I'm saying? Who the fuck wants to go to Cleveland? Who wants to go have fun? You know, it just I can't blame LeBron for leaving. They said I don't think he would have been just putting up stats at that point. Like
But it's not even Cleveland, Sal. Like he also wanted to leave Miami. He wanted to leave LA. He might leave I mean, he wanted to leave Cleveland, and he went to Miami, and then he left Miami for LA. Like this guy, you
Okay,
know,
you think
he
Jordan would have
likes
stuck on Cleveland if Jordan would have got drafted by Cleveland, present day
right.
Cleveland? You think he sticks around like his whole career? Like
And I don't know, Chicago wasn't a juggernaut in the NBA world before Jordan got there. You know, like it's easy to say that now because you know after all the championships Jordan won, even now they're still relevant because of this fucking guy. You know, but Chicago wasn't like the city basketball central like known for winning championships before Jordan got there. So it's hard to
and then
say.
also
You
the
know,
fact that it was like the third biggest market in the country at the time. You know, you had
not,
the shoot deal. It's, I mean,
yeah,
there were some incentives to stick around, and then he even
they
played with the
weren't.
idea with the notion about him leaving too. Like, didn't he at one point want the rumors about him going to New York or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
You
remember
think
that.
if they don't get Phil Jackson and they don't draft Scotty, he's you know, and it's a bum team. You think he sticks around with Chicago the whole time?
It's hard to say. You know what I mean? I know what you're saying, but I mean, it's just you know, and I think that's where the debate always happens with Jordan because Jordan's is always like, what ifs? What if this? What if that? But we saw what happened, and with LeBron, it's not what ifs. It's like just saying what happened. You know, he
The same
bounced
thing.
from
It's easy to
Cleveland.
say. Like it's easy to say. Like I stuck with the city and I won with it and
Yeah,
I'm a player because like yeah in hindsight no shit you know like
I
when
don't.
you build a supporting cast you got
Yeah,
guys like Pippen and then you got guys like Horace and Rodman and
yeah,
you had the best shooters you know at one point you had Craig Hodges who was probably the best shooter ever like percentage wise until you got fucking blacklist and then you got guys like Curry yeah shooters you had a head coach
yeah.
probably arguably the best assistant head coach in NBA history, you know, because they didn't win shit until they brought in the triangle offense, like in you know,
Right.
like so like a lot of things came into play, like you know, but nobody wants to give that credit. You know, say nobody to the GM to Cross, nobody wants to give, and you're gonna say yeah they do, but realistic when they talk about LeBron, it's always Jordan. LeBron, no, Jordan did it. He could the Jordanaires because you could put like say you know Broussard, fucking give him Drexler, he would have won. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. That's bullshit. He goes nobody wants to give fucking Cross any credit for the team they built on Jordan. The Phil Jackson and Winters
Mhm.
for the coaching and the team. Guys like fucking come on. If they don't get Rodman, if you're gonna tell me they beat Orlando Magic,
Mhm. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. They
no,
had
do you
to.
think no, honestly, do you think if they don't get Dennis Rodman, you think they get past Orlando Magic?
They don't get Dennis Rodman. They got to get somebody else, right? I mean, I
Who,
don't know.
who,
Like,
off the top of your head,
I don't
like
know. I
available,
don't, like,
like I mean, they're not gonna get
I don't
Hakeem,
know.
they're not gonna
I
get
just,
Patrick Ewing, they're not gonna get fucking
but
Robinson.
Sal, but
I'm just saying,
it's
like, I'm just
also
saying,
that it's
Robinson,
not
Robin,
fair.
like it's a pretty shoot, like even like one of the best
So
defending big men ever.
yeah,
It took them to get someone like that to not even neutralize, just kind of slow down Shaq. Just come on, just an educated guess. You're a smart guy. You watch a
yeah.
lot of sports. No
So
Rodman. No Rodman. Do they beat
yeah,
Orlando Magic?
yeah. They get another guy. You know why? This is what
Oh,
I tell you. But
so
this is
no,
what I
it's
tell you.
okay. It's
Because this
just
is
whatever.
crazy.
Just fucking
This
whatever.
is.
Just put
I'll tell you
whatever.
why.
You don't need Pippen. You
So
don't
no,
need
hear me
Rodman,
out.
bro.
Hear me
You
out.
need Phil
Sal,
Jackson.
so
You
you're
need.
telling me. This is what you're telling me. You're telling me that so everything aligned for them perfectly. That one
I
minute
didn't
you
say
get.
that.
I
I said
just
it
went to go
helped.
watch this
I said
fucking
give him
Flash
credit. I
movie.
said give him credit.
So
I'm
if
saying
we
give him
went
credit.
one little
I didn't say
fucking thing,
perfect. I didn't say
we
perfect.
had a
Nothing's
different
perfect.
assistant coach.
No.
Well,
Now you put
that's
words
what
in my
you're
mouth.
saying because you're like,
No, I
oh,
didn't
we
say
take
anything
out
about being perfect.
Rodman, and then we could put anybody. I'm like, yeah, you could put a serviceable rebounder defender there. Now,
And then why didn't
I
they?
just, but
They went to lose to
but it
Orlando.
played out how
And
it did. It played
the year
out
before
how it
that, then why did
did,
they lose
man.
to Orlando then?
Dude, guy, they were winning with guys like
No,
Judge
no, then why
Bush
did they lose to
and
Orlando the
fucking
year before? If they didn't have Rodman, then why did they lose to Orlando the year before then?
when Jordan came back at the tail end of the
Dude, he wasn't
season.
sitting down on a fucking couch eating
But he
steak
wasn't playing the
fat.
whole NBA season where
Dude,
everybody's conditioned.
but he's
Like,
playing baseball. He's athlete. He's exercising. He's not fucking eating, getting fat.
different.
But
He comes
everybody
in
has
as
that
a
he just came out of the
playoff.
street. Everybody has that they pull him out of the street. Come on, he's getting fat, eating, drinking. That guy's playing sports.
He's
Come
like
on, man.
Thor. He's like Thor from Endgame.
Yeah. The guys.
I just I disagree.
If
Yeah.
those players don't count for Jordan, then neither does.
No,
the
they count.
55.
They count. They lost. He lost. And I'm telling
And I
you why
never
he
said, hold on,
lost. Because
and I
he
never
was
said that it
out
was
the whole
perfect.
season.
I'm not
But
saying that anything was perfect, but hey,
that's
dude,
that's what I'm
if LeBron had someone in Cleveland, a coach like Phil Jackson and Tex Winners, a GM like
yeah.
Krause that was building, you had a guy like Pippen and Rodman and Horace and shooters, then you know what? He probably sticks around Cleveland. You know, that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
you're blaming. So we were saying super teams existed before LeBron did that, but back then, franchises were building the super teams, right? Like they traded Purdue
No,
for
no, not
Rodman.
necessarily. Because guys like
Some
Barkley want to
some
get
of
out of
them,
Phoenix and go to Houston and they build
no,
it
but
that way, stuff like that. Like,
but that was still a trade. All those were trades. It wasn't a player just being a free agent and
or
signing them.
or
All of
through
them were
draft
trades.
and yeah, it was they would sign players, they
Yeah,
would
so I
draft them.
think
You're right.
Luis is saying all that stuff was happening by the management of the teams, right? They were the ones
so
trading
what are the players
assets to
doing there
get the
now?
players.
Let the
The
players
players,
be, they got
the,
more power now. Let
the
them.
players wanted to be there. Barkley wanted to go to Houston to try to win a championship, and the franchise and they made it happen. You're taking credit away from LeBron for actually empowering the players. So
I'm just saying he did it in his prime. And that was,
yeah, but like
that's the difference. That's why he won
no,
championships,
the what ifs don't exist. But
Mhm.
if he had a coach and a GM and that what Jordan had, maybe they could have built a championship team around him, but he didn't have that in Cleveland.
Right.
And you're telling me when he went to Miami and when he went back to Cleveland and went to LA, you're saying that he didn't want to be the man. Was he not always considered to be the best player in every team he's ever played?
Yeah, as long as he played with other two superstars that were in this prime. One other superstar. He wants three guys in their prime. You know what I mean? That's what LeBron wants wherever he goes, after he left Cleveland the first time.
So, Krause was one of the first people to go outside and bring talent internationally. Kukoc could have been a starter in probably almost every other team, but he was coming off the bench for the Bulls. Pippen, all-time 50 greatest player. Kukoc is in the Hall of Fame. Rodman in the Hall of Fame, all-time, 75. So they provided, they signed Steve Kerr, all that stuff that we were talking about. They were able to actually build around Jordan's talent. Right. Cleveland failed LeBron.
Correct.
But
right. So you're saying that's not his fault.
I think we're getting off the topic, though. To be honest, I was just asking about my definition of GOAT is player. Like, I think when you were talking about what you wanted to be, Luis, I thought you were describing LeBron because that's how I see it. I see LeBron as any team that gets LeBron, they want to build around him because he's the most talented player they're gonna have on their roster, and that's what I would want to be. When I look at this guy, fucking 6'9", could do everything. Fucking, legit, like a monster. He could guard anybody. Like that would be the type of player I want to be. Is what we're saying, like Pippen on steroids. But obviously, let's talk about careers. Fucking Bill Russell then had the best career ever. So should he be the greatest of all time? He's got 11 championships. That's more than anybody. That guy never shot better than 44%.
Don't bring facts into the argument now, man. Don't bring facts into the
I will never put Bill Russell in my top 10 ever. I don't care that he won 11 championships because that doesn't make him a great player. It could make him a great leader. It could make him a great teammate. But he wasn't better than Wilt, and he's not better than the players that came after him. He just had a better team, even though Wilt had Jerry West and Elgin Baylor and a bunch of good guys. He had a better team, the better coach. He is not a better player than a bunch of the other players that were playing at his era and afterwards.
Yeah, it was
they put him as like a top 3 center because he has 11 championships. That's what I'm saying. To me,
it was Lakers, Boston, and the rest of the league. Nobody cares about the rest of the league.
Exactly. And in the 80s, it was Boston, Lakers, 76ers, and the Pistons, right? Or Houston, I think was. But also they had like the higher.
So
nobody.
I'm confused. I just want to make sure both of you guys. So what you're telling me is LeBron is a better player than Michael Jordan because he's a better passer than him, and then Michael Jordan was blessed and lucky.
Not only
was
pass, stop,
blessed
stop.
that he had the luckiest, the best coach in the world, the best rebounder, the best second player in the world. LeBron has he's just all poor, and because
You're
LeBron's
just twisting the words. You're twisting the words.
All
You
I'm
are.
saying,
like
First of all, I
I'm
never said
saying,
that it was perfect. You told
I'm
me that
saying
it was perfectly rounded. It was not that. And then the LeBron, the passer, it's not only the passing part. No, you're twisting the words now. Come on, man.
I'm just saying
You're better than that. You're better
I'm
than that. You're good at that.
the 6-0 doesn't mean anything to me because 11-1 doesn't mean anything to me because I know Bill Russell was not a great player. He was athletic, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying LeBron James is better than Jordan because he can do everything Jordan can do, but better, except for shooting free throws. Everything. Even you mentioned defense. LeBron James, even though his window was shorter because he just had to do so much more, LeBron James was a better defender than Michael Jordan in their prime. He just wasn't.
But they don't want to look at that. They don't want to look at that. And then when Jordan was
and Tim Duncan, that's who he guarded on his way to championships. Derrick Rose
but he guarded those guys one or two plays, guys. Like let's not go down a proportion. He didn't guard for the
playoffs and the finals. You got guys like Hornacek.
You're talking about
Hornacek and Thunder Dan Marley, and then hey, his favorite Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, he's writing the Kawhi Leonard. He's one of the best defenders. He loves Kawhi Leonard. Those are the guys that LeBron.
They're up by 5, and they guard D-Rose for one play while everybody else is covering 2.
No, for the quarter, for the fourth quarter.
Hoping that D-Rose passes the ball.
It was the fourth quarter, buddy. Fourth quarter, buddy. Don't. It wasn't 1 5 seconds.
I want to hear that. Say that again.
Jordan didn't do anything like that. What were you talking about? Jordan didn't guard the first or the second best player, but you wanted everybody counts him as like.
I'm just saying he did it, but it's not like he didn't.
And then the opposition, the defenders that guarded Jordan, the guys like Hornacek and fucking Thunder Dan. But then you got over here. You got guys like Kawhi Leonard guarding LeBron. You see, but you don't want to acknowledge none of that. You don't.
I don't agree that LeBron hands down is a better defender than Jordan. I don't know.
Jordan,
that's just based on that he's more athletic than Jordan.
There was no one
but a better
Kawhi Leonard than Jordan. Kawhi, there was nobody equivalent to Kawhi Leonard.
Opinion, right? That's my opinion.
Huh?
I'm saying, my opinion is that he's a better defender than Jordan because I saw him just shut down point guards to shooting guards to small forwards to power forwards to centers. That's what I saw.
What do you think? Best defender that in the playoffs and the finals that guarded Jordan, and he's still putting up 24 points with like fucking 7 of 20 something shooting. Like come on, Hornacek down there.
We don't want to go down there. It was different roles too, man. It was different roles. You could be a lot more physical too.
That's what I'm saying, but you don't want to acknowledge that. You wanted this man, like a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who was equivalent of the 90s Kawhi Leonard that back then that defended Jordan.
Yeah, man, but there's a Kawhi Leonard, but it's under these rules.
Who's the closest thing to him
that defended Jordan?
Yeah, like a Kawhi Leonard type for multiple finals.
Or a Giannis. Yeah, a Giannis that defended Jordan. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. In the 90s, who was it?
I don't know if they would like you want me to name just like I can't name on somebody like that looks like Kawhi Leonard that
in the playoffs
those hands that he has, you know what I mean? Like but they were a lot more physical than Kawhi Leonard. Defenders that's the thing. So it's like tell me somebody that back in the 80s that was a Kawhi Leonard.
No, 90s. I'm saying who opposition. We're just comparing.
But we can't. But I'm explaining like you can't disregard. Like you want me to give you a name, like everything's branded, right? So these guys, but before, just because they didn't have that, they didn't have their own sneaker, but they were a lot more physical. It doesn't mean that that it was just a layup, for Michael Jordan. Like LeBron has it. People are more.
I wanted the buck right now. It was physical. They knocked Jordan down on his ass, right?
Every player, every superstar. There was elbows. There were.
But it was only up to like 1990. Until the Bulls and Jordan went up to bitch and complain. They changed the rules after 91, 92. You didn't see none of that shit anymore. Occasionally, yeah, there's some fights, but it was nothing.
If you take the 1990s,
okay, let's take the second repeat, 96, 98. You didn't see none of that shit.
Compared to right now, absolutely, 100%. I will argue that all day long, man. We could look
But
at tape.
like again,
You cannot tell me. You
I
cannot tell
can't tell
me.
you. I can't. I'm
No,
telling you right now.
no, you can't.
They
So
got
Jazz
What?
was that
they
physical.
got rid
Jazz
of
was
the
so
handshake.
physical.
They got rid of the handshake during Jordan, so they didn't have that.
I get that, but I'm just saying it was more physical. It was as an older, and the game has changed because not
Well,
because
the
of the
Jazz was
players, just
so
because that's
fucking
the
Jazz.
league has changed. It always changes. They're always making rules changes, you know, and they want it to be more
And they made it
offensive
for Jordan
friendly.
to protect Jordan.
I,
I'm just being
I
realistic. I'm
would
just saying, not
challenge.
that. And again, and I will tell you too. I'm coming from like a Bulls fan, Jordan fan,
Yeah,
Pippen fan, but I'm just being realistic too. I'm being objective. Just like that. I call a spade a spade. That's all I'm saying. You know.
It,
and what I'm saying is
it always feels bad because it feels like we're ripping on Jordan,
No,
and I love
exactly. It's not
Jordan.
that. I just
no,
like
but
I'm fucking put him on pedestal to glorify him.
I will tell you what you guys are ripping on though is like you're just saying that all their competition was no good, and that's crazy to me. You know what I mean? Like it's not were they less
It wasn't
athletic
good,
than
but it
now?
doesn't compare to
Sure.
what LeBron went to.
In what way? In what way?
I
Just
just told
what
you, give me
way?
a defender that was close to like Kawhi Leonard's caliber that defended that stuck on Jordan. The closest thing they could.
But Kawhi Leonard's not the only guy. You know what I mean? They put.
But that's what my point is. That's how good a position that the quality that LeBron has gone up against. I'm curious to feel like a name that fucking stands out that Jordan went up against that defending that stuck him to him. There was a war, that battle that went that you
What
remember.
about Jimmy Butler then? You know, they went through the Bulls a couple of times in the playoffs. Who was a defender like Jimmy Butler that Jordan went up against in the playoffs?
You know, I think when they played Detroit, you know, they defended Jordan pretty well too, you know, pretty hard. I can't think like off the top of my head of like a name where that individual, you know what I mean,
You know,
was
Dan Marley was considered
so but you
a
know
defensive stopper
but
back in
on
the
the
day. That's
Western
what they
so
called.
so was supposedly like Joe Dumars, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Hersey Hawkins and all these guys, but you name those guys and then you think of Kawhi Leonard, you're gonna disregard them. But they were good defenders in their day. You know what I mean? He was going up against good defenders, but I think it was more not the individual. It was just more that
Team
they
defense.
it was more team defense. Yeah.
Uh, it's
That's
time
one
to
thing
move on.
too.
I love this
That's one thing too.
conversation.
That team defense, that
Yeah.
man to man, that man to man shit. That all man to man tough. No. Zone is tougher than fucking that man to man shit back in the day. And that's another thing too. Like man to man 90s. If you don't shut about zone is a lot tougher to fucking play. So
Google
not
that.
you,
Jordan,
other people. I'm talking about casuals. I always hear that shit, man. Man to man. That's fucking the easiest shit to fucking man. It's just so. Oh fuck! I hate it.
Jordan, I think they wanted to bring the zone defense when Jordan was playing, and
He didn't want it. He said, "Get the fuck out." He said, "Quit."
look it up. I think when he was in Washington, right, about that like
Mhm.
2002, 2003, or something like that. Yeah, those 2 years right before LeBron came in. Yeah, they wanted to bring in the zone defense, and Jordan said he wouldn't play if
That's
they.
nothing too. Your guy, Jordan. He said he'd rather retire than play against zone defense. Like
Yeah, but
almost like something like you gotta let superstars be superstars or something like that. You gotta let them
mhm.
get to the basket or something like that. I'm like, the fuck? I thought you were a competitor. I thought you want to fucking play against the best.
And you know they created illegal defense too. You know, now in the zone defense, you can have a guy in the middle the whole time. So they created illegal defense to help Jordan just have
Yeah,
one-on-one
get him out of the zone.
matchups.
See, I think it flips it, guys, because they had to. You make these changes because we want to make life easier for Michael Jordan. It's because look, if there's no rule, what are people gonna do? They're gonna take. Hey, there's nothing against us standing underneath the basket for more than 3 seconds, and you know what I mean. And it wasn't like, wait a minute, how do we make Jordan? No, they were saying, hey, this is what guys had to do to stop a guy like this. And it's not like the NBA came in and said, well, how do we make it easier for Jordan? They're like, hey, we don't like watching a game where we have three fucking guys clogging the lane for an extended period of time. What rule can we put in place? Not to make things easier for Jordan, but because the game has to flow. Like, you guys are twisting it. You're saying like, oh, they did this so that Jordan. No, man, they did it. People were
That's
they were trying to figure out.
it was in combination with Google it.
So sure,
We
but
get it right. Like, okay, around the league, it wouldn't just be for Jordan.
because it
Any other
only
player
doesn't
could jump in.
benefit Jordan. You know what I mean? He's not the only
we
guy.
It does.
No,
It benefited other players too. Luis is right. It
Yeah.
benefit, but Google it.
Well, not only Jordan, but it benefits the
reason
offense.
rule was
It
made
made it
was
easier to score.
to help Jordan because Jordan
Right.
was their brand. In the
Yeah, it made it easier for not just Jordan. Whoever scores, it made it more exciting. They make it easier for these guys to score and put in the basket. Get him out, you know, from camping underneath the basket.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I'm gonna try. I think the '80s were physical. I don't know if the '90s were really more physical than they are today. I'm honest, just about the
people
players.
on social media,
man.
I see a couple highlights.
Regular season is up and down.
It is.
And even that, in the '60s, they had like 20 more possessions than they do now. So the people are saying like, oh, it's just getting weaker and weaker and weaker. Dude, back then, those guys were shooting and moving and running a lot more than they are now, even though it's more open. But look at the playoffs. You can't tell me that they don't let them be physical in the playoffs, just like they did when we were growing up in the '90s and in the 2000s. They do. They let them play.
This
This
Jordan's
finals were pretty
exact
physical.
quote about zone defense. I wouldn't have had my career with zone defense. That's Jordan's exact quote. That's the quote I'm looking for.
Moving on, I'm just gonna do a quick AP stat of the night just to get out of the way. Jokic is the only player ever in NBA history to lead an entire playoff run in points, rebounds, and assists per game. Nobody has ever done it. LeBron has done it for a series or whatever other people have done it for a series. This guy did it for the entire playoffs, all fucking 4 rounds. He led every single person in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. 30, 15, and 9.5. God damn. Okay, let's talk about
good Jokic.
Huh?
I said, good for him. I still don't get it.
Hell yeah.
I think I'm the same way with Luis.
He's home now.
I don't get like what he does, how he does it, but you can't argue with results.
I don't know much to play that. I love the fact that he makes everything look so easy. You guys say it's boring?
No, I'm saying it's boring. I don't get it because the way he brings the ball up.
It was boring.
No,
I think it's boring.
It is. How does
I didn't find Tim Duncan boring either. Like I love how efficient they are.
I think that Tim, it's like he was also to me an elite defender. So it was on, and Jokic, I don't get it. He's not a good defender, right? He runs the offense, and he piles up the stats. But just watching him play, I'm not blown away by it.
That last game, nobody shot over 50% other than him, and he was fucking 12 for 16.
Wow. I mean, that's sufficient.
Hey,
you're right. I mean, I can't hate on the guy. Can't hate on him.
With the NBA draft coming up next Thursday, there's a lot of rumors, a lot of moving parts. Trades happening. Beal's gonna get traded. It looks like the Wizards are working on something. Dame's out there. Sal, what trade would you like to see get done? Or trades?
I want to see get done, man. I don't know if there's a trade that would. Anything that benefits the Bulls, right? But they're not doing nothing because they don't.
That's right. That's why I got the hat.
The only thing I thought about it is, and I don't know if it will work, but I thought it did with as numbers wise. I don't know if with picks because we plug it into the trade machine.
You want me to plug it in?
Try because again with the first round, I don't know. Like I said, if it takes draft picks into account, but the first thing that I thought about was a team that that came to mind, like Beal, right? Beal, rumors, blah, blah, blah. The first thing that came to mind, the Bulls, but like, he's not going to come here, right? I feel like, you want to contend, whatever. He's already, 31 years old, something like that?
And he's the only one.
Second team was...
he's the only one that has a no-trade clause.
Oh, that's it. So the only thing that they just lost the NBA Finals that needs a number 2 guy, Riley pulling strings, was Miami Heat. So I thought about Beal and packaging up Porzingis, and maybe Kyle Lowry, Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, because I'm assuming the Wizards are just trying to rebuild, right, at this point?
Yeah, but they're going to want hero. Any trade with the Heat, they're going to want hero.
Well, let's plug in with some hero. Right now, I got Lowry because you want to dismiss him. He's done. Oladipo, Robinson, and a couple first-round picks. Let's see if that works. You want to plug in Hero, one of those guys? I'll get rid of Hero too. I'll get rid of Hero. Like,
Okay, so let's move it. I was trying to see if that one worked. No, I want to change. Yeah. Okay, so Beal is making 43. You're saying, and then I'm telling you, some of them like Kevin Love, you can't trade them until after a certain dayline. They're like, so Robinson, Oladipo, 43. That's already more than them. Who else were you gonna give them?
Porzingis.
Oh, over here, Porzingis, 33. Okay, so then you need another 20 million somewhere. You don't have it. Plant,
No.
Hero. Still too low. Let's try.
I don't know how
Oh,
Porzingis and Beal. But you
look
give
at that.
them
Plus
Laurie,
13 wins, minus
Duncan,
17 wins.
Oladipo.
Do you pull the trigger if you're the Wizards? I mean, some of those are expiring contracts, right? Duncan just signed, but I know is he almost done? I think Oladipo was almost done too.
2
isn't he?
years.
That's 2 years.
I got a couple
Oh,
of
it's all
All
years.
these have multiple years.
Oh, that's not that's something to look.
You can release them, right? You trade for him and release them, just like
It still hit their salary cap. Well, they don't care. They probably don't want to.
the Jazz did it, right? I don't know about the picks. That's the one thing you can't do in here. Reese, you got one you wanna. Hey, this works. You had
That
some
works
picks.
right there.
I
What
mean,
do you
at the end, once Laurie leaves, you got Robinson. You might resign him and Hero and Caleb Martin.
Which one were you thinking of, Reese?
So I'm not as I the guy I want to see move is Damian Lillard.
And who do you want to see him go to? You have a
Anywhere but with LeBron. Nah, I just I don't know. I don't know where it's a good fit for him because it
talking
would need
about
something.
Philadelphia. We're talking about
Ooh,
Miami and Philadelphia. Those
man, I
are
want to go to Philadelphia.
so you can't do the Harden thing, but you
No, because
you could if they sign and trade Harden
20
because he's making 33.
about
So let's
but
just
Harden wants to go to Houston and he wants to go to where? To
or
Phoenix.
Yeah. If I'm Phoenix, why the fuck do I want Harden? Why do I want to pair up Harden and Durant with Booker? It didn't work with Harden, Durant.
Oh, what about Tobias Harris? Crap ass contract.
Is Lillard, and then maybe give them some of the they're probably gonna want like Maxey, who seems to be like a decent player, right?
Yeah.
And maybe
And then and I know we can't put it in here, but it'd probably have to be a draft pick.
then some drafts, right? This works.
Hell yeah! Look at that. See the man. So I like Philadelphia teaming up with Embiid. And man, look what a perfect contract with Tobias Harris. You know what I mean? They're overpaying that guy, and he's just nothing but a decent player. Not a bad player, he's just decent.
Yeah, but you gotta get something to get something. So, but I don't know.
And
I don't know if
I don't know if they would
the
take that, but I mean,
I don't know
but Portland's gonna lose. Like, they hold on to him. Like, what are they?
I just don't know what kind of picks Philadelphia could offer. But Maxey's
He's a good player.
Little player. Him and Anthony Simmons. This could be an option. Here's the ones I came up with. This is the one I want to see for the Bulls.
Oh,
I want Jaylen Brown and Robert Williams III, and we'll give them, some DeRozan so they could pair him with Tatum, some veteran.
my forward shooting guard. Yeah.
Lonzo Ball.
Man, Lonzo Ball's a tough guy. A tough one because I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how. I don't know. Yeah. He's not a Grant Hill. Obviously, Grant Hill is a way better player than Lonzo Ball will ever be. But I feel like his career is taking that turn. But
it's kind of like with the guy from Portland, no?
Oh,
Brandon Roy.
Yeah. Patrick Williams.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of ready to give up on him. But we'll take on Al Helfers. He's old. We'll take on his 26.5.
Williams is a nice player.
Right? Williams, I'm telling you, that guy, if he would have been healthy, I think that would have made the difference. So I like this trade for us. I know it only says +1, -1, but maybe Boston, Tatum, they're like, we can't win it with Brown and Tatum, so let's get this the Rosen who's been a
You
stud.
get DeRozan is
Let me.
slight improvement over Brown, but Williams is your shot blocker, your rim protector.
But
Let
they
me
gotta
ask you
give up.
guys.
I know, but they gotta give up something too, right? Like we're taking on.
But
That's my thing. Yeah.
Let me ask both of you guys what you guys think, because I know that when we talked about Jaylen Brown a little bit when they had lost, was concerned about him being a turnover machine. Do you guys think Jaylen Brown has the potential of, like, right now he's paired up with Tatum, but do you think Jaylen Brown could be like the second coming of like a James Harden, like when he left? Because I don't know about you
I think
guys,
he
because
could
when
be
he
better.
left,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. What about you, Seth? Because
you
when
said
he was with
Brown is
OKC, and he was under the shadow of Westbrook, and there was two guys there, but when he was under the shadow, let's just say of Durant, like I didn't foresee Harden
exactly, but at least you can
leaving
see
there.
Brown. You got a bigger sample size. You see what he's.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I got what you're
his,
saying.
his
Okay.
his ball handling, his turnovers are like. I mean, I guess he could work on that, but I
Of
mean,
course he can. He can
but
work on that. He can work on his
why not?
handle.
Why hasn't he? How old is the guy? It hasn't clicked in yet. The fuck?
Well,
Dribble the
all right.
fucking
Well,
basketball
let
in the
me.
summer?
What other trades do you have for the Bulls? This is the one I came up with because I know that he might be available. So I'm like, I want them to do something. I don't know what they could get from Levine. This is we're not gonna get Dame. We're not gonna get Dame. We're not
thing I'm
gonna get.
interested for the Bulls
We're
is
not gonna get Beal. We're not gonna get any of those guys. Zion might be available.
Can I ask you guys why is Zion available now? Like I completely missed the boat on Zion. I just see his name everywhere. What the hell happened?
See, you don't even know. Nobody knows. So it's a question mark. That guy
The
doesn't play
thing
no
is,
more.
they're saying they really like the player who's projected to go number 3. I don't know the players. So they're saying that the Pelicans are like in love with this player. So they're like, okay, well, what would they have to give up? And everybody's saying, well, the only asset they have is Zion. If they really want this kid, the only asset is to trade Zion. That's really why it's coming up to.
I don't know if that's what you heard.
What's up?
I don't know if that's what you heard. You're assuming. My impression is that
that
they're
guy
kind of
was
over Zion. They don't want to pay that kind of contract. Almost, it's not guaranteed, but you signed the super rookie max, whatever, 193 over 5 years. The guy hasn't played any games, so I think, in my opinion, and I think they're right. I was already thinking before that shit, like, dump Zion's contract, see someone that wants to roll the dice on him, and roll the dice on a player like a number 2, number 3 pick.
It's a
I'm not sure they're
combination.
in love with him. I would rather have the other player. I don't know if they're in love with him. I think they're just kind of like over Zion. I think fucking playing less and less games. They say I'm not a fucking doctor, but like a medical expert, but like when you're that young and you gain that much weight, like dude, like you're not trying or your genetics suck. Like this is when you should be shedding that weight like no problem, and you're coming in like fucking a fat fuck. Then like it's only gonna get worse. Sorry, it's just fucking
Didn't they just sign on to an
it's the
extension
thing.
or something, like a big ass?
Yeah, I
Before
think
that,
it kicks in at the end. I think it kicks in at the end of this month. So it's a combination. So that's what I heard. I heard that they're really in love with the guy projected to be number 3, and that they're kind of like they don't have faith in Zion. So like, well, maybe he could be somebody else's problem. Let me just show you guys 2 more quick trades.
Yeah.
We came up with, and then we'll move along. Boom! Wiggins, Kuminga, and Jordan Poole for LeBron James. Let's go. I get to see LeBron James in the Bay
Trade
Area
successful.
with
Holy shit.
With Green, Thompson, Curry, LeBron James. Let's go.
run it.
I like it.
And then the final one, I like to see Trae Young, because there's rumors about him too. So I'm like, fuck, take him to New York, big stage. He always plays well in Madison Square Garden. For some reason, he loves like fucking sticking it to the Knicks. And I know Brunson had a awesome year, but
I was about to say they love Brunson.
They do, but I don't know. I just threw it out there. I just heard.
I like that, man. I don't know if New York would do that. They should. I mean, what do you call it? Atlanta. But did you see that Trey Young?
Well, he said they're next to win the championship. Yeah. But
I like those trades, man. Those are good. I like the Lillard trade that you came up with. That would be crazy if LeBron James goes to Golden State. I hope they don't do that shit.
the Lakers probably won't do it. I mean, if you're the Lakers, do you take a chance on Poole being the Warriors son they was gonna be, or Kuminga? Kuminga seems to be a solid player.
Solid. That's best.
Right.
Probably
I
not.
think,
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. If Poole would have had a better, he had such a drastic drop off last year. Let's say if he would have just been somewhere around what he did the year before, though, when they won the championship, man, I think they would take a shot on a young guy like that.
Yeah, and I think the $3 million that's shown right there is last season. I think his new contract. Remember, he signed like a big contract last summer. I think it kicks in this summer.
And Green's not coming back, right? I don't think. Or is he under
Draymond
contract?
Green?
Yeah, Draymond Green.
I don't know because Steve Kerr says he wants Green, kind of like saying he doesn't want Poole. Yeah, when he doesn't say it that way, but he's saying he wants Green to retire a Warrior, and he doesn't say anything about Poole coming back.
There's no way Lillard can go to Phoenix. Does Phoenix have?
Ooh.
That'd be nice, Like I think that'd be good. Like
That'd be
it'd be fun.
No depth. They'll lose again in the first
You're
round.
right, man. You called it, Sal, and that's exactly what happened to him in the playoffs, man.
So do you count any championship from Kevin Durant, or you just like, that's some bullshit? That's some bullshit, right, Luis? Every ring that the Kevin Durant has, he had it with 3 other Hall of Famers. That's crazy.
I say he followed the LeBron blueprint, man. You can't fault the guy. Followed it to perfection.
42 million.
Which is, isn't that just so much karma that then that got in the way of LeBron winning more championships? His own creation is that's ironic.
There you go, your own reality.
I was just saying, it's just kind of funny, man, because he's the one that started that.
No, he didn't start it before that already. We just talked about that.
Oh, what the fuck? Okay, I'll just trade. We get rid of this guy. Here we go. This should work.
Oh, damn.
But it's less. That doesn't make sense. This is more. I need to send them more.
Just move on. That's not trading. Not gonna happen.
Damn.
They already got shooters. They need fucking get rid of Aiden for like.
Oh yeah. How about Aiden?
You gotta trade Aiden for like. Where's
30 million? Look at that.
The Pacers.
That's a good one.
You want to trade? Oh yeah, that's who signed him to.
Do Aiden for like Turner and Heald.
Ooh.
To start over?
Yeah, that trade's not gonna happen. Wasting our time.
Damn.
That doesn't make sense. That one doesn't make sense though.
Huh?
It doesn't make sense why it's not working.
The only trade I'm interested is I don't know. Like I said, we can plug picks, but like if they want to compete in Portland, like how do we dump Levine and DeRozan and someone else for that 3rd pick and like Anthony Simmons or something like that? Damn, that's way too much. Fuck.
Jesus Christ. Making a lot of money, these fucking guys.
Oh shit. Cameron Payne. They get Buddy. Miles
Here we
Turner.
go. They got a lot of time. I mean,
if I'm the Suns, I do it.
I'd rather have that than Lillard. Turner fucking plays tougher down low and shots blocks and Heald is just as good as shooter. Fucking, you don't need you don't need a bunch of scoring because you only got fucking one basketball.
Durant and Booker.
You already got fucking Booker and Durant. You're not gonna fucking score more buckets and shit just because you have Lillard.
If I'm the Suns, I do it. Yeah, Turner could hit threes. Buddy Hield, we know, could hit threes. Turner plays defense. All right, guys. Getting towards the end of the show, I just want to say White Sox, keep on winning most of your series, get back to 500, and let's fucking go.
It's not like you
Sal,
guys
close us
are
out.
taking it. I think that's it. Just having said that, the only trade that I'm really interested in as a Bulls fan is that number 3 pick. I don't know if Portland wants to come. I don't know how that works in the trade machine because we can't do plug-in trades. Draft picks, but yeah, I don't know if they want to take Levine and DeRozan off our hands and some other players, and then fucking. That's the only thing I want. Get the number 3 pick over here. So that's it. Luis, you got anything else?
Oh man, good show, guys. Solid show. I'm gonna go into my archives and look up. I have 20 fucking players, defensive players for you guys for the next show. Ridiculous, blindsided again, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll be ready next.
Your best. And on that note, again, the reminder: wouldn't have had my career without zone defense. With zone defense, that's from Jordan. So on that note,
Quote.
it's a quote from himself, the goat himself. So you see, so on that note, the Rolling the Field stands. It was another great show, guys. We'll see you guys next week. And yeah, that's it. Thank you to everybody watching.
Hey, shout outs to all the new subscribers, and we are gonna try to get you guys in the show. We're working out the details. Olu, Jose, the rest of you guys will find a format for you guys.
I got Chris. Upon further review, the ruling on the field stands. This is the greatest sports podcast, First and Goat.